Good afternoon. My name is Barry Wright. I'm the Dean with the Goodman School of Business, and I'm going to start off our session today by acknowledging that we are gathering on the land of which we gather the traditional territories of the Haudenosaunee and Anishinaabe peoples, many of whom continue to live and work here today. This treaty is covered by the Upper Canada Treaties and is within the land protected by the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Agreement. Today, this gathering place is home to many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people, and acknowledging reminds us that our great standard of living is directly related to the resources and friendship of Indigenous people. So welcome here. This is our proud milestone for us with a partnership here with the Goodman School of Business and the Office of the Vice-Provost, Indigenous Engagement. This is our 6th collaboration here as we celebrate Indigenous Week. And we have some fantastic momentum to kind of carry forward with today's events. So just last month in March, our very first speaker, actually, Dr. Jen Harper, the founder of Cheekbone Beauty, was selected as a recipient of the 2026 Entrepreneurial Achievement Award by Beta Gamma Sigma. And this is a worldwide organization that are over 1,000 schools are actively involved in, and Jen was selected as the top entrepreneur worldwide, and so we're thrilled about that. So this seminar is a wonderful reminder that the sheer caliber of the leadership this series shines a light on, and we are so proud to celebrate her. And we're also very proud to welcome Shelia to her new role as the Interim Vice-Provost Indigenous Engagement here at Brock University. Dr. Cote-Meek comes from the Teme-Aguma Anishinaabe and is a member of the Tegameri First Nations. Alongside her work as Vice Provost, she's also a professor and director of the Indigenous Education Studies program. And Sheila holds a PhD from the University of Toronto, and as well as an MBA and a Bachelor of Science in Nursing from Laurentian University. And beyond her impressive CV, Sheila also brings an extensive history of hands-on work with the Indigenous communities and paired with a wonderful, vast range of executive leadership across higher education. So we're very fortunate to have Sheila at the helm today. And so without further ado, I am going to turn the talking stick over to Sheila, and I'm very much excited about all the conversation that's going to happen today.
Thanks very much, Barry. It's great to be here. We just opened Indigenous Peoples Awareness Week this morning with the sunrise ceremony, so I hope I don't yawn. but I'm so excited to be able to be in conversation with Trisha Pitura. So Trisha, I'm just going to introduce her. Is an entrepreneur, a creative force, and the co-owner of Mini Tipi. She's originally from Sudbury and a member of the Nipissing First Nation, and she's now based in Gatineau, Quebec. Through her work, she reconnects with her Ojibway identity using textiles and creativity. She believes in continuous growth through challenges, viewing setbacks as lessons, and emphasizes the importance of community, self-care, and taking risks to pursue one's dreams with confidence and authenticity. So welcome, Trisha. I've been looking forward to this for so long now, and I was so delighted when you agreed to have a conversation with me today as part of this Indigenous Leadership series. So I'm going to just jump into these questions.
I just wanted to say, Sheila, that I really, really appreciate, and I'm very honored to be welcomed in this space and the work that you're doing, and highlighting Indigenous excellence, and it's really important. So I just wanted to say miigwech for this opportunity ahead of time, and I just wanted to maybe introduce myself with my spirit name, which I was gifted by an elder in my community, and it's new for me. So I just wanted to say Ani Indigenous, Zibikwe Indigenous, and that's my spirit name I was gifted, which means river woman. And you did a really great intro of who I am and where I am from, and why and what I am doing here with Mini Tipi. So I'm ready for you. I'm ready for this really great conversation.
That's a beautiful name too.
Yes, thank you.
It reminds me of your community that you come from, Nipissing First Nation, being close to the water. the Sturgeon River is not very far from there. So kind of all connects, right? And makes sense. And then you're living in Quebec along the Ottawa River.
Yeah, so that's
Yeah.
why it was like connected to Dokis First Nation as well as Nipissing. So
Okay.
I just received this name last May. My whole family did. My siblings and my mom. So it was really, it explained a lot in terms of like my calling and connection with the water. So I hold that with responsibility and honor to be having that name because it kind of, the river runs and, it guides, it shapes my way. So I feel like with all the challenges, whether it's a rock or a boulder, you keep shaping your path and your journey by the flow. Just go with the flow. So
Exactly. Yeah. So those boulders can get in our way, right? But when you're the river or the water, you just go around them.
That's right. That's right. So I kind of take
Perfect.
that, and I remember I take that and with responsibility too of our waters. So
Yeah.
I like
Awesome.
that.
Okay, so you've already started to tell us a little bit about yourself, but could you share a little bit more about who you are, where you come from, and what you would like people to understand about your journey that brought you to this work that you're doing now?
For sure. I could talk for a really long time about that, but I'll just do a little quick briefing on Mini Tipi, a little bit of who I am. I'm originally from Sudbury, Ontario. I'm a member of Nipissing First Nation. I moved to Gatineau, Quebec, probably, I guess, like 18 years ago now. And I have my family here. I have three children that are now 14, 12, and
Wow.
11, almost 11. And so I started Mini Tipi when they were babies, and I really, not necessarily to what it is today, but really just kind of starting as a hobby. So I was really working for, I'm also a graduate from Laurentian University in gerontology, and I did my postgraduate in recreational therapy, and I worked for the city of Ottawa as a recreational therapist. And then I had my family, started being at home, and it really, changed my perspective of like I decided to be a stay-at-home mom and I was always really interested in crafting like my grandmothers crafted. I watched them use their hands, whether it was working with leathers or beading, or my grandmother on my dad's side, she makes pierogies. I have some Ukrainian blood in me as well, and they've always been using their hands. So I was always interested in learning to sew because I wanted to I wanted to make a quilt. I have like a bit of an old soul and I really wanted to quilt. I think it's so beautiful. So, but I really love textiles. And so I think that when it started in my basement, really just crafting, making small products, learning to sew. And it kind of brought me to my partnership with my business partner. I don't do this alone. I think that's very important to recognize and highlight is I have a business partner, Melanie Bernard, who we've built Mini Tipi for the last 10 years together. And it's pretty wild to say that, but Mini Tipi's 10 this year. And so we have a pretty big milestone to celebrate. But I feel my journey has been very profound in a sense of all of the things that have happened, raising three children, starting with children's products. Mini Tipi didn't start with authentic Indigenous design. We actually were in stages of our life. And so we were developing baby products, and it's really washcloths and bibs and, just everything that was practical to a mom. And I was really always inspired, I guess, by nature and animals and florals, like different types of materials, not materials, but different types of patterns on different fabrics. But then it was really what became our mission today with Mini Tipi is really to use authentic Indigenous design for proper representation and, what we are doing today. But that came from us seeing that there was a lack of in Canada. And I can definitely, in the textile industry, and I can expand on that, but that's just a little bit of who I am, where I've come from. I didn't study, I don't have my MBA, like it's really just all self-taught, learning every single day and building something that's really at the core is passion and values. So it's just really the rest is I can go into, but that's where we're at today with a little bit of the story behind where it all began.
That's very cool. And I remember the days when you were making baby products, and I
Yeah.
thought they were so cool. Then the next thing I knew, you were doing these beautiful blankets, and So this particular event really talks about your reconnection to the Ojibway identity through your textiles and the creativity that you have. Maybe tell us a little bit more about what the reconnection has meant to you personally and professionally.
I feel like as our people have been reconnecting and with like just however that looks on everyone's journey, and whether you're wanting to learn to dance or learn to craft or learn the language, everyone has their different way of reconnecting. And for me, I was really drawn with my hands and really knowing who I was a little bit, because I grew up not really understanding fully. I don't even know. Like, I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that, but I wasn't one and I wasn't the other, so I didn't know exactly who I was. So I really felt a calling, and I always get a little bit emotional when I talk about me and my culture, but it's because I'm on my learning journey and I'm reconnecting, and this is where I am today. So I feel like just for me to learn more about who I was, and I know that my grandmother probably would have taught my mom, but like she spoke the language. My mom didn't learn the language. It wasn't really passed down. It's just like that verbal passing was limited because of my grandma's experiences. And I guess just me choosing to use creativity and learning about different teachings
Mhm.
through, and then storytelling that through textiles. So it was really noticing, I guess, that there was a lack of authentic Indigenous designs in the textile industry. And we were finding a lot of inspired textiles. So like when we did start making those blankets, we could have been very successful using those, but there was no they were like just Navajo prints inspired. There was no artist, there was no community behind it, because a lot of our storytelling has been done through textile, and you can relate certain elements back to a community. So it really had no proper representation in these sold massively textiles that are more inspired. But yeah, I just feel like that it was very hard, and it was like a learning journey for me, but for me to ask those questions and be proud of who I was and being able to like learn and be curious, I guess just be like really vulnerable to be like, this is what I know, and I guess that expectation of like I need to know everything, or I have to educate people on everything. So I'm very authentic in saying like, this is where I am today
Mhm.
and I'm still learning. And I think that a lot of people can relate to that, who are on their journey as well as reconnection. I don't know why I'm crying, sorry. I always do. Sorry, Sheila, but I can talk through my cries, which is always good. And a lot of people always tell me that my tears are medicine. So
Yeah, yeah. And
as a
they are, and they are,
yes,
and tears are healing as well.
yeah.
So,
And I
and I
just
think too, like you're talking about this whole piece around reconnecting with your culture, reconnecting with your tradition, and so forth. And I think that that probably brings out a lot in all of us as Indigenous people, because, when we think about the history of Indigenous people in this country, we have lost some stuff, right? So that reconnection can be emotional. And I totally get that, because seeing you get teared up wells me up.
but
As
it's
lo-
like, we have nothing to but celebrate now,
Yes. Yeah.
Well, that's also really important, but that's also really important. So that's just a little bit of my journey. So I feel like not
Yeah.
necessarily a responsibility to hold that all on my own, but I take it as like a journey for myself and for Melanie. She's like the partnership between her and I, or she's non-Indigenous and I'm Indigenous, bilingual, Francophone, Anglo. So we're really like a really dynamic duo. But it's our journey together, because she's a really strong ally in what she believes in and what she's passionate about for the Indigenous community. And so we are learning together and using our platform to allow Indigenous and non-Indigenous people to connect and connect to the culture, empower themselves in terms of understanding. And then it's also beautiful because we get to show art, celebrate art, and also the teachings or the knowledge that can be passed through beautiful art. And I guess I'm like jumping all over, but in terms of what we do, our mission is, like I said, to use authentic Indigenous design to proper represent and give the voices to our people. And then we storytell. So it's woven into textile. And
Right.
all of our products have a significance behind them, and that you can, on purchase, read about our artists and read about the significance of that design. So I find a lot of people really resonate with that, and they connect, and it really creates an emotion and experience, and also fulfills that void of curiosity of and then a way of also supporting Indigenous business and being proud to wear it, even if you're not Indigenous.
Right. Right. So tell me a little bit about that original spark that led you and Melanie Bernard to create Mini Tipi.
Yeah, so when we were doing the baby products, I do have to mention that we were becoming like very unique in our style. So our brand was like visually noticed or recognized, I guess, just with our textile choice, but it wasn't ours. It wasn't authentic. And people knew who we were based off of like the beautiful textile. And it was the inspired textile that we were using in our blankets and our shawls. And then we started asking ourselves bigger questions about these appropriated textiles. So in 2019, it was when we decided to change the narrative, and we started with our very first exclusive design, which is the Thunderbird behind me. It was our first exclusive. And then after that, we started really storytelling or telling authentic, using authentic design, but really talking about how it was connected to the culture and how we were celebrating it through our mission. And then afterwards, we were starting to collaborate with other artists from different nations that had different teachings from their elders or community. It's for them to also share knowledge through textile, and also highlight other artists that were doing really amazing things and celebrate them. And that was kind of where Melanie and I really noticed that that was our mission, like that's what we needed to do. And because there wasn't a lot, there was a lack of, and like right now you see Indigenous fashion, you see so much beauty, and it's really being represented. But in 2019, there really wasn't a lot of designs and textile out there. And so I feel like that was a big shift, and the storytelling, and I think the representation and people being highlighted and being more accepted, I think, or it's not like it shouldn't be just on a shelf in a corner. It's like it's for everyone to appreciate, everyone to find it beautiful, and everyone to use. So and it's more awareness around appropriation versus appreciation.
Yeah, that's really important, I think, too, is this whole notion around representation and making sure that we are represented, right, within the textile industry and so forth. And it's authentic, of course. So I know that your work sits at like an intersection between creativity, your culture, as well as business and representation. So in terms of responsibilities, then, how do you hold those responsibilities as a creative director, if you will?
I feel that the proper representation just doesn't end with like the final product, like so it's in everything that we do, and the responsibility that we hold in terms of building relationships with our
Mhm.
artists. And we have our signature collection, which is part of what I will represent for the company too, like, or like in collaboration with the creative direction of the teachings or the inspiration behind the designs. But when we collaborate with artists, it's really important because of how we develop our relationships with the artists, the trust that we build with them, it's all part of that representation that starts from the very beginning. We have a process that we follow so that there is the trust that's built. We have a proper agreements with the artist so that there's it's written, it's trusted, there's a contract, they have full understanding. The communication is really important for me. I lead a lot of the artist relations, so it's really important for me that they trust and there's communication and there's full transparency. And we also properly compensate our artists as well. We have a flat rate for their work, and then we also have a royalty program that as we order their design, they're constantly compensated throughout with our relationship. And it's not just one off. Like, we still have artists that we buy fabrics for in 2000 since 2020. So, or 21, like we continues a long-term relationship with them. And it's just really having that relationship and fully understanding with proper representation and having them like properly credited as well in the process is that we arrange a video for the artist. And it's not just about like the Mini Tipi aspect of it. It's like, what are they doing in the community? Who are they? It's also like highlighting them as artists and their entrepreneurship journey, and then also what the design means to them and that collaboration. And a lot of times it's really shining the light on their work. And then it's really the name is also really represented on our blankets. So any collaboration that we do, we ensure that the artist is on our labels in collaboration with Mini Tipi. So I feel like the representation and the responsibility to ensure that it's not transactional at all. It's really about relationship, trust. We copyright all of the designs within Canada and the US as well, just to have that trust built and ensure that we're protecting their intellectual property and the knowledge that's shared there. And so I feel that it's established in terms of a process, but we're always learning too. Like, we're always looking to do things a good way, and always looking to do things better. So I feel that it's really important to us of how we interact with people and the partnerships that we build.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense to me as a researcher, all of the things that you're saying. I'm probably not like the textile creative person, but as a researcher, I understand this whole piece around how important it is to build a relationship with whoever you're working with, right? And so just walk us through a little bit more about how you establish an artist collaboration. How do you begin the relationship? How do you go about building it? That sort of thing.
I know that a lot of the times I'm really interested in what people are doing in the community, and I feel like when we start working with artists, it's around something that I really want to share. I think that I see what people are doing, whether they're a muralist, an artist, whether they're a traditional birch bark biter, a star quilt maker, like they're not necessarily ever, they're never textile designers, so I love that we get to work with different artists, but it's usually by an inspiration of something that I want to share and that people might have questions about. And then it could be something that's maybe not traditionally mass produce. I say the word mass produce in a big way, but it's something like exactly that, like birch bark biting, Sheila, like when you take the birch and you use your eye teeth and you channel and then it comes out to a full design. It's like a snowflake. There's only one of those ever made the same. And we were able to digitalize that and share it in textile to allow people to understand a traditional art form that was very important to our people of it being like a pattern for beadwork, and then now it was a lost art form and it's being revitalized, and we were able to do a video and highlight our artist, Half Moon Woman, Pat Bruder. Her work is in museums, like so I just find that when I look for an artist, it's not necessarily because they're designing fabrics. It's really about what they're doing in the community and how they might be revitalizing some of the culture, and that we can able to share that and storytell through textile and share it with everyone in a different way, but in a beautiful way that's respected. And we always do it in a respectful way and a good way to make sure that that it's not going, it's respected by the communities, and it's not going to uh, be disrespected or make anyone upset in terms of what we're sharing. But I usually use social media, like I reach out to artists through social media as an initial introduction. And then I follow up with a Zoom call. And then we start with a Zoom call to get to know each other. I explain a lot of the process behind what Mini Tipi does and our mission. And then I talk about why exactly that I would love to work with them, and the magic that we can create, and the inspiration behind what I could see what they can share, and how a lot of people can feel or just receive some of their knowledge in textile. So it's really a long-term relationship, but it starts with a Zoom call and very relational. And then it's usually about a piece that what they're doing in the community that could be shared in a larger way through textile.
Great.
Yeah.
And good old social media, right?
Yeah, seriously. Oh my gosh. I have one little story though. There was an artist that I was like keeping an eye on, and I really loved his work. He's Victoria, but social media. We were in Venice. I was in Venice just not too long ago, a couple weeks ago, and I saw that his stories on social media. He was also there, and I said, "Are you like in Italy right now? Are you in Venice?" He says, "Yeah, I'm here." So I said, "Well, we don't know each other at all, but do you want to meet up for a drink?" So we met in Venice, and then now we're working and talking, well, about a collaboration, and in terms of for a blanket design, and sharing his work through textile, because he's a wood carver. So it's like hard for everyone to have a piece of carving, like I know, but it's able to like talk about his work through textile and highlight him. But it just happens like that. Social media can be good, but it's really that meeting and the relationship and the talking about values aligning and the work that we both are passionate about doing that is able to build trust and interest of wanting to work together and create something that has a lot of impact.
That's amazing. And it can be a small world sometimes, right? It's
Seriously.
amazing that he was in Venice at the same time as you were.
I
So,
know, I know. It was meant to
but
be. It's meant to
these
be.
great connections,
Seriously.
which kind of leads me to my next question. It's around, your entrepreneurial piece, and just like kind of shifting gears a little bit, but what has your entrepreneurship taught you about leadership? Because you really are an Indigenous leader.
Yeah, that's a lot. I it's hard to accept that in a way because, like even when we have our 18 employees, we're not I never thought of myself as a boss, like I would rather be seen as a leader, but it's like defining who you are and what that looks like as a leader. So it's not just like you're a leader, it's hard to put words on that, but I for me, I very much take that and lead with humility. And I also understand that I don't have all the answers, and it's a
Mhm.
learning every single day of how I show up as a leader. And everyone has their own leadership styles, but I take it as a responsibility as well, because I know I always say that is that you never know who's watching, right? Like, so I always see like we're active in the community here, and I try to show up for the community and be more of a mentor or with like we have an Ojibway hub here. It's an Indigenous incubator for people who are interested in starting business. So I go there and then people reach out to me. So I think that the leadership aspect of things is just showing up
Yeah.
and being humble, and also being vulnerable and understanding that like I don't have it all figured out. We all start at the same point at some time. So and nothing gets built alone, like, so if people understand that, then or that, if I can inspire some youth, women, stay-at-home moms, anyone like that sees my story, I think that if people can be inspired and then also take that chance on themselves and see like their potential, or see that their gifts are also worth trying. I think that I take that as a responsibility to just show up and treat people well and encourage, like, so we've done some pretty wild things, like do the Dragon's Den, and we did, a few like the powwow pitch, like we participated in it all at different stages of growth, and so sometimes people don't want to scale to be a really big business, and some people are just happy to be where they are, but it's about what you want to be and how you want to get there and who you surround yourself with. So I try to like talk to people, or as a leader, is really important about who you surround yourself with, and always being curious and wanting to continue to learn, and it being okay that you don't know, so it's asking questions. And so I feel like that is more me showing up, understanding how I show up, and still continuously shaping that, like I think that I'll be a different leader in 5 years than I am now. So I'm looking to always improve how I can show up, and for myself, for my team here, for the community, everybody in different ways.
Yeah, I can hear kind of this really strong value base that you have in terms of the way that you conceptualize your work and understand your work. Can you maybe talk a little bit about, some of those core values that keep you rooted or keep you grounded? Yeah, in your work while all the while you're making business decisions as well, which oftentimes I think too, when we think about our cultural values, sometimes they don't always mesh with the world of business, right? So how do you maintain a balance in that?
I know that what's important is that, and what works really well is that Melanie and I have both the same personal values, and we bring that into the business. So I feel like that is always our roots, like that's always the foundation of who we are, is us, and which, helps guide us into everything that we do. But you're right in a sense of that, because you're a value-based business doesn't mean that you get to ignore business realities, and and that is part of that fast-paced world where you have to try to like keep up and grow. The expectation is to make more the next month, the next year, the more the next year, more the next year. But we don't ignore that reality, because that's also very real. But it's always we use our value base in the communication between Melanie and I, ensuring that we both want the same things. We've realigned ourselves a little bit, even with our responsibilities. And, like we're 10 years now, and we're not in our basements anymore. And we are at a level of responsibility with 18 employees. And where is the business going? Like we have to always ask ourselves. And those are the hard questions of like, okay, like we are choosing to be entrepreneurs. So, and this is really what we want to do because we're passionate about it. And it's really important for us to be guided by our values. And it's really important to show that value-based businesses, or business like social impact businesses, can be successful.
Yeah.
So I know that we stay true to that, and by making decisions every day based on our values, we direct and guide our pace of how we want to grow. We direct and guide and make decisions of who we want to work with, and the relationships that we make, so we even have like brought it down to of course, like hiring, like we bring people in on our team that have the same values as us. So it's really like, I say, like the core and roots of who we are, Melanie and I as partners, but also for the business. So I feel like we use their values to guide all of our decisions, and especially the partnerships that we deal with, because we really, it matters to us. Like we won't, and we'll say no to opportunities, or we'll say no to certain things, even if it looks really shiny or it looks like it's going to be a really great, because we have to outweigh that. It's like, it's almost like your core, and we make sure that that's always intact, and that we always feel good about what we're doing, regardless of the opportunity and the partnership that we have. So it's always really, we say that, like, we don't want people just doing one-offs with us, like, and like we are really, I think that we have almost like a 3D screening for it. We can almost like see it and touch it and see it and feel it if people are wanting to be transactional with us, and it doesn't interest us.
Yeah, that's really interesting because it is, like I think when you have a set of core values and you live by them and try to abide by them, I think it makes it a little bit easier than if we're just picking up values and saying the words but not enacting them within ourselves. So it's really interesting that you actually, when you do your hiring, you look for folks that have similar values to both you and Melanie, in terms of your business and how you go about developing your business and so forth. So, just thinking about that, I think about your business. I saw you on Dragon's Den. I think everybody that was probably niche saw you. But what do you think your role is in terms of this co-partnership with Melanie and being with an Indigenous owned business? Are you playing a role, do you think, in changing the Canadian business landscape?
Quite interesting that you say that, Sheila, because like honestly, when we started this business, I get asked all the time. And Melanie, it's kind of a weird thing for Mel because so I get asked, what is it like being in partnership with a non-Indigenous person?
Mm.
And I don't see it as that. I don't see it as that because of how strong her values are and that it aligns. I cannot give advice to somebody else who's Indigenous and is interested in partnering with someone who's not Indigenous because I can't say they're all going to be successful partnerships. Um,
Right.
I can't say that, but I feel like it really depends. It's like a marriage, right? Like it's a marriage. Our communication is really strong. We, again, like I said, we run off of our values, but it's really about us showing up every day and ensuring that our passion and our direction of what we want, because we always say that Mini Tipi is bigger than us. Like it's bigger than who we are and what we believe because we're trying to make change. And like that was the whole idea is that when we started that, there wasn't any, there wasn't a lot of representation in the textile industry. And then that's the goal is to really continue to push the mission as far as we can internationally. Like we have goals of like being with the Olympics, Canadian athletes being properly represented with Indigenous design, so we want these big things to make change. And that's why we're not responsible for ourselves, but we're responsible for the bigger, like Mini Tipi is its own human now, so I feel like when we show up together, it shows that that it can be successful relationships with two different Indigenous, non-Indigenous, that the bridges can be built if they're done in a good way, and that if people are willing to put in the work to have it done properly and like the respect is there, because I feel like that's the biggest part behind both of us is that we respect that we're coming from two different worlds. I say worlds, but it's not really, because like we kind of started it together. And that's what really I think started it together on my reconnection, but also Melanie being like so passionate about me, but wanting me to like, she just like is like, I don't know, she's like, I don't say biggest cheerleader, but she's definitely wants me to feel connected to where I am, what I'm doing, and then bring that, because she sees that I shine and she sees that it makes me whole. It's starting to make me know who I am, and I want other people to also feel the same. So I feel like that we're really like leading in that, I say, but at the same time, because I say that, is that there's not a lot of partnerships now that I see or know. And that's why people ask and they're like, oh my God, someone needs to write like an article about you girls. And I'm like, well, what do you mean? Like, we're just doing good things together and we believe in what we're doing. And it's hard for Mel and I too, because we don't really like, we're very we have like we're very humility, like like we don't talk about ourselves or like all the work that we do, or like, so we just do it because of course we're going to do it. We don't do it for anything else or for attention or recognition. It's just the work that we're deciding to do that brings people together. It connects us.
Yeah, when I listen to you talk, I can hear the passion for your work that really comes through. And so, I always am amazed when people find their passion and then are able to link it to the work that they're doing, because it really does drive you, right? It drives you to keep going and to try to make a change, in whatever area that you're working in, right? And I really do, thinking about your work, I really do think you're playing a role in changing kind of the Canadian business landscape, and in particular around ensuring representation. But I'm sure you've been told this as well. But for other Indigenous entrepreneurs, you're really becoming quite a role model now for others, and I think that that's really awesome. As you continue to do something that you really love. You know what I mean? Like, if
Absolutely.
you find that passion, it makes such a difference.
It's
Um,
true. And I even like when Barry was talking about Jen Harper, like Jen's there's a lot of Indigenous excellence, and I really
yes,
love that, we've focused a lot on Canadian history coming, colonization and loss of culture and the hardships. But then it's really important for people to also hear and understand the success and the work that, the amount of businesses that entrepreneurships, that are growing, and the amount of women entrepreneurs, so I feel there's a lot coming, and all the youth that are so in tune and connected to the culture and are so strong. And I feel that a lot of the path has been, it's opening, the doors are opening,
yes.
and people, it's just going to get even more powerful. And I'm really excited to see what the next generation is going to be bringing in the youth. So these are all really great things. And if I would never say that about myself, but if that was some way part of my work, then I would be very proud of that too.
Yeah, and so you should be proud of your work. It's Anyway, I'm going to talk a little bit about ethics and sustainability as well. So this particular speaker series highlights leaders who are committed to socially and environmentally sustainable businesses. So how does sustainability show up in your work, from, say, design to production to the relationships that you were just discussing?
So that is a decision also that we make every day, in terms of being aware of the 7 generations ahead. And I think
Right.
that Melanie definitely is very rooted in that principle. And we decided in the beginning, when we were using other textiles, that they weren't recycled, but just in the sense that all of our sustainability comes in many layers. So in design, it's very conscious of us to have beautiful products that are made really well in terms of quality, that are timeless, something that's not going to be thrown away. So even though we say, like, my dad always said, buy well, buy once, but it's really about having something that's not the quality is there. So it's
Yeah.
really important for us that it's not something it's going to be heirloom. It's going to be around our quality, like we see all of our work. So in design, we try to create some beautiful products that are going to be timeless pieces. In production, we are very conscious of the materials that we choose. Now we use recycled fibers that are all reclaimed, and we went to our facility, the production facility in Italy, where our fabric is woven, and it's really a beautiful art form in its own. And they're really value-based. Like, we fall, like, our relationship is really strong because we believe in what they're doing. But all of it is post-consumer clothing, so it keeps all the clothes that, like, are taken from over the world, and they sort them by hand, sort them by color, sort them by content, and then they reshred all of the clothing to respin yarn. So then
Wow.
that yarn is used to create our design. So it's actually an amazing process. I can't even believe that you see people sorting by hand and they know the
Mhm.
fibers. So we're really proud of that, because it was really important to us that the more we are ordering, and we know that the fashion and textile industry has a lot of impact on our Mother Earth. So it was important for us to know the traceability of our development of our fabrics. So we use a recycled fiber, the materials that we're using here in house, the waste that we produce. Like, we're really conscious of using our fabric to optimize as much fabric, but then what we also dispose of, we're really conscious of that. If we have any like left, like we call them like ends or scraps of leftover cuts, we have a program that we donate a lot of our left fabrics to Indigenous women shelters here, where they use for crafting. We have schools. We have a lot of about 5 or 6 organizations that we work with to donate our fabric back into the community, so that either the schools or the women can connect to the fabrics, because we also share the artist card so that they understand what's the meaning behind the fabric, but also just to have it go back. And it's almost like another recycle aspect of things, where we don't throw anything away at all. We really try not to. So, and then also with our relationships, like I was talking about earlier, is that we're not doing the one-offs. We have like these long-term sustainable relationships, and that goes for our team. It's like how we work with people and how we treat people, it becomes long term. So when we have our staff, it's really important for us that we retain them. They have the same values. They're part of the culture here at Mini Tipi. And I mean, we expose and we discuss the Indigenous culture, but we're a very diverse group here and so all cultures are accepted and all cultures are celebrated, so I feel that what we build here in our walls as team, I feel that people I speak for my staff. I hope they like it. I say that they like it, but I think they do. They stay. We have staff that have been here for 5 years. So I'm hoping that they love it here. So, and in terms of like our partners, our artists, and all of the people that we work with, we try to build long-term relationships so that, that we surround ourselves with our network around us of who we want to grow with, I guess, in terms of partnerships.
That's really awesome that you have figured out how to use sustainable products, but also that on the other end, when you have ends of material and so forth, you've also incorporated sustainability on the other end. I'm a sewer, so I have a box full of scraps because you never know when you might need something, right? But you've inspired me to think again about maybe if I'm not going to use them, maybe I can find places to donate them as well. So thank you for sharing that. I'm just going to shift gears a little bit because there's a couple of questions that have come up in the chat, and I might ask you a couple of those because I know we have about 10 minutes left. So one of the audience members just said, thank you for your excellent webinar. I have the following question. What can non-Indigenous businesses and leaders do to build genuine long-term relationships with Indigenous communities rather than focusing on symbolic gestures? And how has Mini Tipi maintained its authenticity and competitive advantage as the business has grown? It's like a bit of a lot of questions in there, I think.
So from what I hear is that the first question is, how can non-Indigenous individuals participate with Indigenous business?
Yeah. To build a good, long-term relationship with Indigenous communities. And I know you touched on that a little bit, rather than focusing on symbolic gestures.
Yeah, I think it's a respect. Like you hear a lot of times, I don't know. I know I haven't worked with a lot of Indigenous communities. Maybe you can also speak to that, Sheila, is that it's more of a respect and that feeling of a place of respect in terms of understanding what they're saying, what their needs are, and it not be like a one-off. Some of the times in communities, it's hard to understand the realities, I feel. So if people are really interested in long-term relationships, I would really I've heard people, I've talked to people, and people go into community and really understand, because it shows that you're actually interested in understanding, or you're interested in, I don't know if it's like the change or whatever the relationship would be in terms of that, but it's hard, when you have to walk the walk and talk the talk. So if you want to be part of it, or if you want change, or I know it's not always easy to go into community, so I'm not sure what the question is directly, but it's more about the respect and open-mindedness to understand the different worlds that could possibly be where people are at in their reality of what they're experiencing in community or outside of community. And I always say that regardless of who you are, is that you never know what's going on in someone's four walls. And that's why I always try to teach my kids to like lead with kindness, because you have no idea. Like everyone's probably at the verge of breaking, like because everything is upside down all the time, you know? So I just also in terms of not I think that it's also important in terms of if you're going to support Indigenous businesses, I'll just flip to that, is that if you want to support Indigenous businesses, it's like finding out who's in your community and how you can support them instead of it just being June and September. And it would be those types of relationships, like, you know, not only are Indigenous businesses service businesses or product, I mean, but you can find out there's maybe a coffee maker, or there's someone who does screen printing, you know, like there's like over 500,000 businesses, Indigenous businesses in Canada. And if everybody was able to find out who in their community, like who is an Indigenous business and how they can support them, it makes a huge difference in terms of how we can be successful and lead. And that people aren't just doing the one-offs, you know? So it's like that, it's a long-term relationship in terms of it being creating your own awareness of Indigenous businesses. And also if you're purchasing, I feel like it's important for people to understand who they're purchasing from and who the artists are, and a little bit in understanding that cultural appropriation is real. And so if you're supporting artists, that you know who it is and you can speak to it and have a conversation about it and just share, you know, share. I don't know if I answered that all, but
No,
maybe.
I think you did answer it, because you know, what I'm getting from your answers that you know, these are not one-off relationships.
Mhm.
If you're wanting to really build a relationship between non-Indigenous businesses, and you want it to be genuine, you want it to be long-term, and you want it to be authentic, if you will.
Yes.
And people have to be committed to doing their own learning as well.
Yes.
So yeah, so and moving away from these performative, symbolic, one-off gestures, thinking that they're going to get all the answers in one go.
Yeah,
So
I
um,
know.
another quick question, well, maybe not quick, but it's just looping back to the materials around sustainability. There was a question about how did you make a choice about going overseas for products, um, and using them as a provider? So how do you make those kinds of difficult, challenging kinds of choices about finding providers and making a choice? What do you look for?
Yeah, that was really hard because at first we were very resourceful and we were wanting to do exclusive designs. And so we did find somewhere overseas, and then the fibers weren't recycled and the quality wasn't the same. But then Melanie's kind of like on the same boat as I am, is like, the more kilometers of fabric that we buy, she's like, are we really gonna wrap the world or wrap up everyone in saran wrap? You know, it's like plastics, you know? So it was more of like understanding the fibers that we're using and being and that's why it's being responsible, and that's why it's not always the fastest or it's not always the cheapest, but it's also a conscious decision to not not participate in like not participate in the damaging, you know? So we are choosing to have a higher quality, higher priced fabric made with recycled fibers from
Mhm.
Italy, but it's a conscious choice that we decided. And also it's more about like our confidence in our suppliers and the relationship that we're building, because
Right.
we have a lot of intellectual property that we need to be protecting because our designs are exclusive to us. And like I was talking about the trust with the artists, is that we have to ensure that our suppliers are not going to reweave and sell, you know, like we did experience that, and we spent thousands and thousands of dollars with lawyers to now prevent, but at the time we had to deal with infringement cases. So we really made a lot of shift changes, but for sustainability reasons, but also choosing our suppliers based on the relationship and trust that they're going to protect our designs that have cultural meaning to them. And it's important for us because it like we work so hard to have that, and it's really a big part of our mission to be able to share that in a good way and a respectful way, so that it's done properly. Because like imagine someone just like takes all of our designs and starts weaving them and selling them, it loses all of its richness and like our whole mission of like proper representation and authenticity, and then it loses all of that. So we really hold that really tight to make sure that that it's really important for us. So I think that it's really about our choices that are based off values, and also the relationships and trust that we have with our suppliers. And it's also not easy, like, find a supplier. The supply chain is difficult in its own, but at the same time, it takes a time to build those relationships with suppliers. And that includes us going to Italy to visit them. That includes like constant follow-ups, meetings, like just good communication and I think standards of quality that we have, and that they understand it. And I think that if we're just really upfront and transparent in the beginning, then the mutual respect is there, because I feel like it's all about respect as well.
Great. I can hear all your values coming through and all your answers. I should be making a list, but anyway, this has been like a fantastic chat with you, Trisha. I've really enjoyed it. I know we only have a few minutes left, but what excites you most about the future of Mini Tipi?
Honestly, I feel like we're just getting started, and it's been 10 years, but there's so much. Like when I talk about our big hairy goal of the Olympics, like that was like a vision that Melanie had. And I really believe it's going to happen for us, because we always try to do things in a good way. But I want to continue spreading our mission internationally, globally. I'm looking forward to like new artist collaborations, new product development. I feel that there's so much work to do, and that Melanie and I are in a really good position to do that together. So I think just like the growth of Mini Tipi, but for me, continuing as the creative director to learn and share that also is, and I have some really nice designs coming out that are coming up in this year and next year. So and product development, like it's all really exciting. Like there's nothing but great things happening here, and I'm excited for what we are going to do in the future.
Awesome. And your grandmother would be proud.
Thank you.
So I'll end on that note, and I'll hand it over to Barry. Miigwech. Thanks so much, Trisha.
Well, thank you, Sheila, and thank you, Trisha. River Woman, Sheila, I was fortunate enough to be able to keep notes while you're doing so. It was great. So, but River Woman, fabulous. The Sturgeon River, I had to go check that out just to see it a little bit. So, but some of the messages, Trisha, were wonderful. The river shaping your path, right? When we come in and we think about the natural beauty that is the rivers and how they do carry us, and your comments about we do need to go with the flow. Sometimes we can paddle up river, we can do that, but it's nice to go with the flow as well. But I liked, again, from a leadership perspective, talking about your strength as a leader now, but who you will be 5 years from now as you continue to grow. And the be curious part really struck with me as well, being open to ideas and things. And but also real important, I know, for our students when they hear about a values-based business, and that really came through loud and clear with you. And so that is marvelous. And again, today in these sustainable days, so whether it's sustainable materials, but I really like that you talked about sustainable relationships as well, which is a really, really powerful thing. So you did also talk about you began your business to be able to give voice to Indigenous people. Well, I'll tell you, we're certainly glad that we heard your voice today. And I think one of the things that we are able to do with this series is to celebrate those leaders, the Indigenous leaders that come onto our program. So if you have not been to Trisha's website, you owe it to yourself to go there. www.minitipi.ca. You will be thrilled with the opportunities to see the beautiful products that you have there. And here's one message for somebody that has a business here in Niagara. There are a number of stores across Canada that sell Trisha's products. but there's none in Niagara. Here is a wonderful opportunity for you to reach out to Trisha, and you can be the first one to be able to have that opportunity to be able to have Mini Tipi's products right here in Niagara. Otherwise, we're all going to have to order them online, which we can do, easy enough to do that as well. But I really also love your giving back, Trisha. When I looked at all the projects that you're there, so the Downey Wenjack Foundation that you're very actively engaged with, and Water First, which seems to be a natural place for you to be as well. But one that really caught my eye was Powwow Pitch. And I'd love to carry on conversations about how to be able to look, how do we create an environment for future Indigenous entrepreneurs? I think that would be a fabulous place that we at Brock University and within Goodman may be able to draw from your leadership to be able to see how we might be able to carry some things onto that. So we are proud of your work. I think, Shelia said that, and I want to echo that as well. So I really want to thank you for sharing your journey with us. But as you were talking about it, it took me back to my boyhood reading a story, and I don't know if you've heard about Paddle to the Sea. And it's a wonderful story. And what it is, a young Indigenous man carves a canoe with a paddler in it and then puts him in the river in Lake Nipigon, which is probably not too far from where you grew up. And the idea is this canoe then, and he puts on the message, I'm paddling to the sea. And the story tells about the paddler's journey as he goes from the lakes through all the Great Lakes and over Niagara Falls. Apparently, I've just had to go check on it, but I can remember the story as a child, how that really spoke to me. But it really does talk about your journey and how you are paddling in the future and drawing from the river and the water to take your path forward. So again, Miigwech, thank you very much for joining us today. We truly, truly appreciate you being here with us.
Thank you so much, Barry. Miigwech, for having me. It was really an honor, and I'm glad I got to share my journey and my story with you both today.
Yeah. Miigwech, thank you.